It's an exact replica of the Texas monument that was confirmed and upheld by the United States Supreme Court in 2005. In fact, it's not only an exact replica of the markings and how it's configured, it's actually the same South Dakota granite that is used in the Texas monument.
Our objection is to the erection of the Ten Commandments, period, because it is a violation of our right to religious liberty. Religious liberty is one of the things Americans hold most dear. And the way we have as much religious diversity and freedom as we do have in this country is because we don't allow the government to take a position endorsing one religion over another. By erecting a monument to a religion, which is what the Ten Commandments are, it shows that the government is approving of this religion, endorsing this religion over other religions or over no religion at all. And that is the beginning of religious oppression. You can't pretend that you don't have a religious motive in putting them up there. And that is the motive, whatever people say.
The ACLU, frankly, has made their life and made their money all about suing on things that are very important to American people. It's very interesting because you have a 2005 Supreme Court ruling, which is actually pretty fresh for Supreme Court rulings, which upheld the Texas Ten Commandments Monument. There are over 180 public places around the country that had these same monuments.
There's a huge difference. To say there's no difference means really not to be paying attention, because the difference is that the one in Texas that the court upheld had been there for decades. And the courts have made a real distinction between historical buildings or places with a religiously divisive monument and a brand new monument, which is what this is, being erected in the 21st century. So to erect a religiously divisive monument in this day and age is really just to thumb your nose at everybody who doesn't belong to a particular religious group and say, you're a second-class citizen. You don't belong here. You're not as equal as the people who adhere to this religious faith.
I think there are more people than Christians that are happy because, frankly, it is the Mosaic Code, which obviously was Hebrew, Jewish. So when you think about the Ten Commandments is not something that's inherently Christian. It actually is inherently from the Old Testament, and so the Ten Commandments is actually, if you want to take it down to its root, is Hebraic. It's the Hebrew code. And so many people, besides just Christian people or Jewish people, are excited about it because, frankly, how did we ever come about the knowledge that stealing was bad? Thou shalt not steal. How did we come up with the concept that adultery is bad? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. It's very, very obvious throughout history that the Ten Commandments was one of the first written codes of law ever in the history of the world. And that's what we're doing, is honoring that historical moral foundation of law which developed in American jurisprudence. And this is what we're trying to do by honoring that here in this state.
Hello, this is Michael Reed, and I'm a firm believer that part of salvation is that we not only have faith in Jesus Christ, but we obey the commands of God, and that we confess Jesus as Lord. But one thing I do not support is the violation of our constitutional right to have the freedom that's guaranteed us, that guarantees us separation of church and state, because no one religion should the government represent.
Where do you go when you're faced with adversity and trials and challenges and the...
Oh my goodness! Freedom!
an individual drove onto Capitol grounds and knocked over the Ten Commandments monument, which was just installed yesterday. And the Capitol Police have arrested him and are conducting an investigation. And our crew has cordoned off the area here and is cleaning it up, but it's not something they planned on having to do today.
Obviously, I'm disappointed for the people of Arkansas. This is actually apparently now we know a premeditated act of violence against the state of Arkansas and our people. This is a law that was passed in 2015 that said that we would erect a Ten Commandments monument to honor the historical foundation of law in our country. And so this is an attack not only on a monument, it's an attack on the process and the rule of law in our state. The other thing is that I'm very concerned about the root of hatred in someone's heart that would cause them to drive what may be hundreds of miles maybe to get here and to carry out an act of violence like this person did. It's a problem, I think, that's a symptom in America right now. We have to take a stand for civility in this country. No longer can we allow people to go to college campuses with masks on, with bats and sticks, and attack people who are simply standing up for their own free speech rights. This is wrong. This should not be happening in our country. It's the same root of hatred that even causes somebody to burn a church, which is wrong. And most recently, the hatred that was in a man's heart that would have him go to a ball field and ask whether it's Democrats or Republicans that are playing ball, and he begins to shoot them because he disagrees politically. This is not the country that I want my children and my grandchildren to have to live in. And it's up to all of us in public office, in the media, in society in general, to take a stand for civility and let people know we do have an expectation of behavior, and we will make sure that that expectation is met. All of this radical talk from the Satanic Temple and the free thinkers and whatnot, it never had a leg to stand on to begin with. What culpability to some of these groups that foment hatred and incite violence that would cause unstable people to get out and carry out these acts, what culpability do they have when they say, tear this down, knock it down? What kind of culpability to those groups? I actually call those groups out to be responsible for their rhetoric and for the language that they use, because this did get torn down, and it was encouraged by the very groups that you mentioned. And I think that they ought to have to be accountable for their rhetoric.
So moving forward, do you think that either that a new monument or a repaired monument will be back up out here?
It will be back up. The law will be fulfilled.
Well, I'm excited to see it go up. This is going to be a decisive legal victory for us. There's really no hope of keeping this Ten Commandments monument standing. Senator Jason Rapert has done everything wrong when it comes to trying to keep a standalone Ten Commandments monument on public grounds. It's never been done before. All precedent is against him. He's citing precedent that doesn't support his case and in fact supports ours at the point where you've kept other monuments of religious significance off the public grounds. So ultimately it's going to be found in our favor. It's going to be adjudged in our favor. And we're yet to see whether or not Arkansas has to pay the bills for Jason Rapert's little crusade here. I don't think at this point a law firm's going to go pro bono on a case they're almost certainly going to lose. But we already applied to put our monument on the same grounds, and we were told that of course we would need a bill sponsored. We would need support from inside the House or Senate to have the monument go up, and because everybody's subject to the same bureaucratic process, that's not viewpoint discrimination. But it is. If you just put it into a bureaucratic process and you allow functionaries within the government to decide which monuments of religious significance they will or will not accept, that is absolutely viewpoint discrimination if they'll accept some and not others, and that's what makes this unconstitutional. It violates the Arkansas state constitution. It violates the United States Constitution.
The fact of the matter is that the Satanic Temple is actually nothing more than a group of pranksters who go around and take advantage of gullible people around the country trying to raise funds and promote the profane. And that's what they've done. The person that leads the group uses a fake name, and he has a history of this. Now, under the First Amendment, everyone has a right to free speech, and we respect that. Even people that disagree, I'm open for that. But also, we have the freedom of speech, I personally as an individual, and also the people of Arkansas, to say that we disagree with your profane statements and your false claims against the people of Arkansas and the attack and really a war on the Ten Commandments.
Senator Rapert will tell you that our monument is an attack upon Christianity. But then Senator Rapert also once described a gay pride parade as one of the most offensive displays against Christians in an attempt to intimidate people who believe in the Word of God. These are not the words of a man with the maturity of mind to act with the sense of detached jurisprudence befitting of a public office holder. Senator Rapert will tell you that his Ten Commandments monument is not a religious monument, rather it is a monument celebrating the heritage and history of American law. If he were to make this claim in earnest, it would indicate that he is as unqualified to hold the title of minister as he is to hold the office of senator. To be sure, the senator reduces the Decalogue from the sacred to the historical in an attempt to shield it from claims of religious preference and litigation. However, it is a dishonest move that is an insult to both the Ten Commandments and American history and heritage.
Well, the Supreme Court's been very clear. The standing precedent, the 2005 Texas case, Van Orden versus Perry, was an attack on the Texas Ten Commandments monument, which is very similar to the situation we have here. We have several monuments here at the Arkansas State Capitol, including the Little Rock Nine. If you go down there, you're going to see Christian verses at the Little Rock Nine. You're going to see the Liberty Bell, which has Leviticus on that. You're going to look at the state seal in Arkansas, which has the Angel of Mercy on that. And so what these people are doing are attacking some of the Judeo-Christian history and heritage of the country. But on the law, the Van Orden versus Perry case said that yes, the state of Texas has a right to put up the Ten Commandments monument. And they even laid out in the case itself, the Chief Justice made reference to the Ten Commandments that's on the lower left and lower right of the doors entering the Supreme Court chamber in Washington, D.C. I was there just a few days ago. I went in, I looked at those Ten Commandments, I took a picture of them, and then just above the head of the Chief Justice is Moses himself. So the bottom line is the U.S. Supreme Court displays the Ten Commandments. The state of Texas displays the Ten Commandments. I've personally been to the Ten Commandments Monument in Colorado and in Arizona, and I'm told Missouri has the very same. If the Ten Commandments display is good enough for all of those other state capitals and the United States Supreme Court, sir, it's good enough for the people of Arkansas, and we will defend the law.
Senator Rapert will tell you that the placement of his monument on the Capitol grounds is, in part, justified by images of the Ten Commandments on display within the Supreme Court of the United States. What the senator fails to mention is that the Decalogue is nowhere listed inside the Supreme Court in representations of a stone tablet whereupon are inscribed the Roman numerals 1 through 10, often mistaken as representative of the Ten Commandments, were in fact described by the artist as representative of the Articles of the Bill of Rights. Where Moses is represented within the court, he is depicted alongside many great lawgivers of history, including Hammurabi, Napoleon, Confucius, and Muhammad, to name but a few. Nor is Moses central among them. It is in the spirit of pluralism and government viewpoint neutrality that above the steps of the Supreme Court, the words equal justice under law are boldly displayed. In fact, the Supreme Court has consistently upheld that where religious public expressions are allowed for some, it must be allowed for all. Senator Rapert will tell you that a United States Supreme Court decision from 2005, Van Orden versus Perry, which allowed for a contested Ten Commandments monument to remain on public grounds in Austin, Texas, justifies the exclusive placement of his Ten Commandments monument here on Little Rock Capitol grounds. What the senator fails to mention is that on the same day as that decision was handed down, the Supreme Court ruled against two standalone Ten Commandments monuments, only preserving the one in Austin on the grounds that it was a 40-year-old landmark and, importantly, that it was displayed alongside a number of other monuments with no evidence of viewpoint discrimination. In denying other monuments of religious significance in Little Rock, the state can no longer claim Van Orden versus Perry as justification for the Ten Commandments monument, and in fact, the precedent supports our claim that the state is obligated to accept Baphomet at the Capitol grounds.
Is there any point of compromise either with the plaintiffs in the ACLU case or with the Satanic Temple? Is there any point of compromise that you could envision on this issue?
Here's a very simple point for people to remember. The United States Supreme Court ruled in 2009 in the case of Pleasant Grove City versus Sumum, that's spelled S-U-M-M-U-M. It was a group much like the Satanic Temple that said they were going to force a city who had a Ten Commandments monument to put up a monument that they chose. The Supreme Court said that you cannot force a city, a state, a government entity to put up a monument. You can't force them to do that. So the fact of the matter is, in Arkansas, Act 1231 was duly passed by an overwhelming majority of Arkansas legislators. It was signed into law by Governor Asa Hutchinson. We even had open and public hearings for the Secretary of State and the Capitol Grounds Commission, and even allowed these outside extremists to come in, make a presentation on their profane symbol that they want to put up, and offer to them. They can make application. They did so. That at that time, it included that they find a sponsor for a bill to sponsor their monument. That's the way the process was at the time. And they were unable to do that. They sent letters to legislators asking them to help them. We don't have to help them do something that is offensive to the people of the state of Arkansas. And therefore, what they're doing now is, since they didn't get their way, they're making false claims. They're coming into our state to upset people, and it's simply to create a chaos.
To be clear, when the public grounds are open to private donations from one religious viewpoint, the public grounds are open to private donations from any religious viewpoint. This is what religious liberty means. You may be uncomfortable with Satanists on the Capitol grounds, but it was Senator Rapert who, by his efforts to open the Capitol to religious monuments, tacitly invited us here. To be clear, the Ten Commandments monuments standing on the Capitol grounds to the exclusion of other privately donated monuments of religious significance is illegal. According to the Arkansas State Constitution, no preference shall ever be given by law to any religious establishment, denomination, or mode of worship above any other. The binary elements of the Baphomet, the animal and the human, the gesture above, the gesture below, pentagrams both inverted and upright, all signifies that which is embodied in the central caduceus, reconciliation and negotiation. Baphomet, on the same grounds as the Ten Commandments, does not represent a conflict, but a resolution. Baphomet would legalize the Ten Commandments and uphold First Amendment principles. A failure to accept Baphomet will surely result in a legal ruling demanding the Ten Commandments monument be taken down.
Let me say this, that based upon the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Pleasant Grove City versus Sumum, it will be a very cold day in hell before we are ever forced to put up a permanent monument on the state capitol grounds that's as offensive as this group that hides behind fake names as they travel the country.